fan man. Heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. It's a heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. It's a heart to heart. It's a heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. You know, it's just a little heart to heart with the man. He's the ceiling fan man, you know. He's the guy who's got all the plans, you know. He's got some chickens, he's got some pigs, and he might wear a wig, but he's just a ceiling fan man, you know. He's just does the best that he can, you know. He's just the ceiling fan man that you need, not the one that you wanted. He's just a guy who has a ceiling fan man. Kinda looks like a satellite. It's a heart to heart with a ceiling fan man. It's a heart to heart with a ceiling fan man. He's got some gravy to give you. He might have some weed too, but it's legal here, it's alright. It's a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. He's the ceiling fan man, you know. Just a little heart to heart, just a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man, you know. Just a little heart to heart with the man. He's the ceiling fan man, you know. Just a little heart to heart, you know. I got more words than you do. Buckle up your seatbelt, it's time to do a little heart to heart with your friends. You got all of the usual suspects, got some coffee and it's damn good, you know. Gonna do a little sort of scriptural thing here, man. But we might use the Bible, it's okay. Heart to heart, just a little heart, just a little heart to heart with the man. Just a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. He's your friend and mine. Talk with the heart to heart, just a little heart to heart with the man. He's a ceiling fan man, he's a ceiling fan man. Coming to you live from an undisclosed location in the Pacific Northwest. We got the ceiling fan man. Satellite tracking locked. maniac man, yeah. Just a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. Just a little heart to heart with the man, yeah. Sing along, just a little heart to heart, just a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man, with the ceiling fan man. He's the ceiling fan man, the ceiling fan man. He's the ceiling fan man, he's the ceiling fan man. Just a little heart to heart, just a little heart to heart with the ceiling fan man. He's the ceiling fan, he's got a fan, he's my biggest fan. Well, maybe his wife is. Mrs. Ceiling Fan Man, she's a pretty big fan. She even put up a Twitter account for me. It's kind of cool. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us today. We got a little... I told you it'd be funky, huh? Too hard with a ceiling fan man. He's the man with the plan. Got some gravy serving hot, got some green pot, got some leafy substance, I don't know. He's the ceiling fan man, ceiling fan man. He's the ceiling fan man. Not the guy that you want, the guy you need. He might make you bleed, but he's the ceiling fan man, the ceiling fan man, the one and only ceiling fan man. Get out on the dance floor for he's the ceiling fan man. 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 The ceiling fan man. The ceiling fan man. Just a little heart to heart. Just a little heart to heart. Just a little bit of heart to heart. He's got just a little heart to heart. Just a little heart to heart, a little heart to heart. Well, alrighty then. So it's a little heart to heart with a ceiling fan man. Well, welcome, ceiling fan man. Let me get you on the horn here. Where are you at, my friend? There you go. All right. Let's see if he's recovered from shock. Right. I hear you, Singe Man. What? I don't know. He said he was standing by. Ceiling fan man, where are you? Where's Wayne's? I don't know. I don't have one for him. Oh, ceiling fan man, how could you? You left me hanging. Unbelievable. All right, let's see if it works here. I knew it wouldn't work. I knew it wouldn't. It only works when I dial you. I've got it programmed. I got it programmed not to pick up calls. No. Hey, Ceiling Fan Man, are you there? Okay. Did you recover from the shock? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What?
Speechless.
You are rarely speechless, but I got you.
That was amazing.
I don't know about amazing, but it was something. How about that? It was something. We're not sure what, but it's something.
I tell you, I've been doing a lot of, looking into things to talk about with you tonight. And I had all this ready to go, and I'm sitting up here, and I got some water, and I'm just, chilling, ready to go, and that comes on, and it's all out the window, man. That was something else. And I saw in the chat someone mention, you need to get Wayne the song, and they're right, but it's funny because I want to hear your version of Alchemical Tech Revolution.
I was just thinking that's going to be a challenge. Alchemical, it's got to be a rap of some kind. Alchemical Tech
I made a comment
Revolution.
I made a comment on the stream the other night that some of these words are not only hard to spell but type when you're trying to type it really tiny on a cell phone.
I caught that, like unintended consequences. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, that was the first one that came to mind, but Wayne's pretty good too, man.
Yeah. Well,
But I have a really long one too. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, but you just go CFM, right? If I put up TGB, nobody would get that. I don't think it would go over.
Or no, I guess you'd go UC, which I don't know.
UC, and then if you see K, then tell her I love her. I don't know. It gets complicated, really. I'm not sure quite what to do with that. But I'm super glad that you could join us this evening, and for everybody who is here, I am super glad you are here as well, and that you survived that intro. I was talking to Jason Lindgren earlier today. He's going to be at the Solar Return Festival, and of course we hope that you are too. Let's see if I can bring that up. Do I have that somewhere? Yeah, Solar Return Festival. He's going to be, let's see, where is he? Jason Lindgren, somewhere in here. There he is, Jason Lindgren. He's going to be doing some of his songs, and I've agreed to try to sit in with him a little bit and see if I can catch up. Of course, I had to retune because his stuff is in 432. So I'm like, what? what? It's more difficult to, anyway. Jason Lindgren's going to be there. I'm going to be doing a jam session. Anyway, I was talking to him earlier. How did I get sidetracked? He's been practicing on his vocals, right? Because he's going to do some of his songs. And I was like, yeah, I need to either, drink some WD-40 to get the rust out of my pipes, or maybe some CLR. I don't know. Maybe I quit smoking. I don't know. No, nobody wants that. Anyway, so welcome everybody. It's again delighted to have all the usual suspects here. And again, this is if this is your first time, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right.
No, I got to say that we're not. If you're thinking that this is by the title Sola Scriptura, and this one is Sola Scriptural, sort of scriptural. Yeah, I think you get the idea. We're not fuddy-duddy types. I don't consider myself particularly religious. In fact, kind of anti-religion in that sense, that religion is an intermediary, a way to get between you and your Creator. And it seems to me, from what I understand, what I read, that the point of Jesus was to do away with that, to get rid of any need for intermediary, and so that you can have access to the Creator directly. So I go with that personally. I know that our friend Ceiling Fan Man does, as well as many others that I know. And so we love Jesus, and so I think we follow Jesus, but in terms of Christianity as a religion, failamente.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is I even tell people, I learned this on your show. Soup cans or labels are for soup cans, because I don't really have a label anymore. I know a relationship with the Creator, and my particular one, I found it through the Bible and through Jesus, but everyone just needs to find their own path. Once you make that connection to God, to the Father, you'll figure it all out. Just ask him.
Yeah, I think he'll tell you who he is, right? Yeah. Exactly. He won't.
That was the beautiful thing, is that since I wasn't deep in religion or whatever, I didn't have to unlearn anything. I just got to do it kind of organically between myself and the Creator.
And that's absolutely the best way. It's what I suggest for everyone, because that way no one can mislead you, right? I mean, once you get that connection with the Creator, Was he going to lie to you? I don't think so, right? And if the entity you're talking to is lying to you, then you better reconsider whom that is, because there is no darkness in him, as per the image right now. Light, there is no darkness in light, and there's no shadow of turning. He is, in fact, all light and entirely the definition of love. And that's what I've come to understand. Mentioned that a little bit this morning, had some conversations with folks about that and the nature of love this week. And, I can express through a period of time, right? I don't know, it's probably been 20 some years ago now that I was reading the words of Jesus and understanding, trying to better figure out how do I work this thing out, right? Because I really quickly understood that he didn't want me to follow a set of rules. He wanted me to follow him. That's what he asked me to do. And a big chunk of that, right? He said, these 2 commandments I give you, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, and all your soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And so the key word there seemed to be love. There's also a text that says the entirety of the law is fulfilled in love. I thought, well, that's okay, so let's do that. That seems to be really difficult, much harder than keeping a bunch of rules, right? How do you, as Jesus said, how do you love those who persecute you? How do you be kind to those who are trying to kill you, literally? What do you do with that? And where does that come from? So what is the nature of love? And I spent a number of years trying to wrestle with that one. Until one day, Dad sat me down and said, "Son, let me tell you what," as he does from time to time. He said, "See, the thing is, love is not, it's not a thing to be defined. It's not a decision. It's not a feeling. It's not an outlook or an attitude. Love is a person, and his name is me. I am." And once I kind of got that to stick and understood what he was saying, it changed everything for me. And I began to understand that if love is not the motive, God is not involved. And the only way to truly know love is to know Dad. That's the only real representation that we have. And seeing how so many of us have been so badly damaged by the world, it is because we are thirsty for love. And when you're dying for love and all you've got to drink is shit water, you kind of turned off, right? But you're still thirsty for it. Take a drink of the clear living water. Go talk to Dad. So that's what I got to say.
No, I like it. I'm actually doing a video because I listened to your Soul of Scripture this morning, or
Ancient Wisdom. Yeah,
Ancient Wisdom. Mm-hmm. Sorry, and no, there was a lot in it. And once again, the synchronicities, you were talking about things that I was actually already working on a video on. So that was pretty awesome.
Oh, sure. Okay. You copy me all the time. It's okay. Because I don't consider it my content. I really don't.
Okay. Well, I hope you understand that I'm going to take your word of that, because I'm definitely going to take that song and definitely use it.
Okay.
I've never had anyone write me a song before. It's
I got to tell you, CFM, I didn't really write it. It's the same as everything else. It just pulled right out of my butt.
I love it.
So I didn't write down any words. I just
but you actually put in my favorite line. Is I'm not the friend that you wanted. I'm the friend that you deserve. That's fantastic.
Well, I got that from you, see. So
I find so much of my life seems to relate to Batman. It's pretty wild, the movies and the TV shows. But I digress. Love, they tell you the opposite is hate. And that's a lie also. Yep. That's another lie of this world. The opposite is fear. Because Satan's allowed to run this world. And he does it out of fear. None of the people that are in charge of whatever happens around here, they don't have love. They'll never get it. They won't get it from each other. They won't get it from God. They work off of fear. And there's always a bigger fish to crush you. And that's the opposite of God. God is love. And that's the thing. It's like I wasn't this person that I am talking about these things just a year or so ago. When you actually take that moment and you find some stillness, because God's there and God's talking to us all the time. But the world is so noisy and full of things to distract us. Squirrel. And
what,
then
squirrel? Shiny object.
Yeah, shiny. And so that we don't hear him. And you literally have to take a breath, take some time out, sit in a dark room, close the door, turn the light, sit outside. Just hold on to the grass, because we're flying at how many millions of miles an hour,
real fast,
and spinning and stuff. So just
Yeah.
hang on, because you don't want to fall.
Grip it tight.
Grip it tight. Yeah, but truly, like, take a moment and get your phone completely away from you, and just listen and talk to him and ask him if he's there. Ask him things that are in your heart and see what happens. It's not like a magic genie. You don't rub a bottle and then poof, something appears. No, you've got to ask for something that is within his laws, his ways, and it comes from your heart. You really have to mean it. It's not a magic trick. He's not going to show up and, like, ta-da, and pull a coin out of your ear. You know, you have to want that relationship.
Well,
if you want it, he comes.
That's one of the things I love about your little tagline, right? Which is heart to heart. That it is. It says clearly, right, that it is a contrite spirit and a broken heart he will never turn away. And so it is that honesty, right, coming before him naked and. Literally if you want to, but it doesn't have to be. But what I mean is without the pretense, without prove anything to me. Being like, prove to me you exist. I don't think he's much interested in that. But I have never seen him turn away the contrite spirit and someone who's actively looking for a connection. I've never seen him turn that away.
And people want to know why we're going through all this situation going on in the fake world that's around us. It's because the only time people realize God exists and cry out to him is when they're troubled. So God's not creating this situation, but he's allowing it to happen because his people don't even know he's there. I've done this analogy many times. If you get invited for dinner and you show up and you eat and you don't say a word to the host and you take off, throw your things down and you leave, it's insulting. And so he's created everything, including our own life. And we don't even remember he's there. And that's why they call them the children of Israel. And again, don't get caught up in the names of who's an Israeli and who's a Jew and all that. Forget that. Because whatever the original covenant was, it's now morphed into whoever is a follower of God, whoever is a follower of, I believe, Jesus. But again, follow your own path and find it. You'll figure that part out. But whoever is a follower of God, those are his children now. Don't worry about the name and where you came from. You can't get born into a religion. That's the weirdest thing. Oh, your mom was this religion, so now you're it too. No, that's not how it works. So this whole system is set up to separate us from him. Now everyone's inside looking at just black mirrors. You're not going outside. You're not even going to work. You're not going to school. You're getting to the point where you don't like going to the grocery store. You don't like going anywhere. And you're self-imprisonating yourself, surrounded by Alexas and black mirrors and Ring doorbells. And we're totally being monitored, and we're being monitored by our neighbors and stuff. They teach us that. And now, heroes get, whatever. They don't get stitches now. If snitches, they get money or whatever. And we're creating this society. And, it's interesting that Mrs. Seelig fan, man, she sends me things all the time. And she found this tweet. And it says that, you don't need to be physically harmed when you can be mentally traumatized and filled with fear. So we'll physically, mentally harm ourselves and each other. They're just illusionists, and they only have the power because we believe in their trickery. Yeah. And that's what this whole world is about. It's based on a fear.
And in fact, it's been proven that kids recover a lot quicker from physical harm than they do from emotional harm. That's absolutely true. And I think the same is true for adults. They got the world in a constant state of PTSD, trauma. And you can't think when that, and I love what you said earlier, okay, calm down, get away. The text I quote often is, be still and know that I am God. And I love this interpretation of it from Jason Upton, is be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Just be. That is, to me, so powerful and so calming to always bring me back to that place of knowing that he's with us always. He never promised it would be an easy journey. In fact, he very clearly said it would not be. It would be the most difficult route you would ever take. But he did say he would be there with you and never leave you or forsake you. So...
Yeah, and if he took everything and just made it a smooth path and you had no difficulties or any kind of thing to make you stronger in life, you'd turn into that Wall-E character, that weak blob that just goes around in a little cart and machines do everything for you. That's not why we're here. What would be the point of that life? If you can't stand for something, you live for nothing. I heard that too by you, and or something like that. Stand for, die for. You figure it out. Edit that part out. But it's like, you need some type of resistance to build up your muscles. Maybe whatever we're experiencing right now, as troubled as it is, and each one of us is being attacked in different ways. A lot of my family and friends and people I know are either going through health issues, mental issues, or just emotional struggles. And so we're all feeling it, but we're still here. We all still are on these channels, and we're listening, we're talking, we're gathering, we're talking about God. And so I think that whatever this is, it's strengthening us for potentially things that could get even harder. I don't wish that, but I don't see it changing. You know, I have a few things I'll talk about. I don't want to completely, go off on a tangent here, but I see that it potentially could get harder. And so we're getting built up for, if it just, some people just say, I just want it to end. Let's just do this now. If Revelation, do it, whatever. You're not ready. I don't think any of us are. Because there's another thing that I quote my wife on. She says, you know what? I know nothing. My understanding is getting better, but my discernment is amazing now.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it.
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better, in fact. Let's see, touch on a couple of things here. One of them is, here's the words of Jesus from Matthew chapter 10. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes, but as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You'll be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the churches. On my account, you'll be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them. But when they arrest you, don't worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you'll be given what to say, for it won't be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his own child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of me. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you're persecuted in one place, flee to another, right? He didn't say give up. When you're persecuted in one place, flee to another. Truly, I tell you, you will not finish going through the towns of the world before I come back. Right? So he said, also, the student is not above the teacher, nor a servant above his master. It's enough for students to be like their teachers and servants to be like their masters. If the head of the house, if he has been called Beelzebub, Satan, how much more the members of his household? So don't be afraid of them. There is nothing concealed that won't be disclosed, or hidden that won't be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight, and what's whispered in your ear, proclaim from the rooftops, right? He didn't say start a secret society, right? He said, tell everyone, don't be afraid of those who can kill the body, but not the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both the soul and the body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? But not one of them falls to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You're worth more than many sparrows, right? So he very clearly laid this out. Right. And he said, don't think that I've come to bring peace, not peace, but a sword. He's come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be the members of his own household. I think that you can see how that is very true right now with the snitches get rewards, right? Snitches get checks. That is coming to fruition right before our very eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. Our family members are turning, unfortunately, and that goes back to what you're saying. Love your neighbor as yourself. You love them, so you just keep praying for them and hope that they get woken up to the deception that they're involved in, because there's otherwise you'll go mad. We all experience it. That's what these channels and these chats are for, because everybody in here is experiencing it. If you've found your way to one of these channels, you have been ostracized in one way or another in society, either by strangers or family members or friends or both or all three. Mm-hmm. And we didn't choose this. We didn't decide, hey, you know what would be fun is just completely explode my life and start talking about things like God.
That'd be awesome.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that happened. I became one of the, I don't go on a street corner and yell out these things, but I kind of do with this channel. But I feel that that's, again, discernment. God says those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, they'll tune in and they'll listen. If they find something, then great. They'll take some information away from it. But that's what we're here for. And part of this video that I'm writing on, one of the things that I kind of blew my mind was when I found out where we are in the book, right? We're towards the end.
Yeah,
some people
right.
believe we're starting beginning of Revelation, Tribulation. Some people think maybe we've already passed it. It's a short season of Satan. Either way, it's no bueno, as Steve says on GMOs, Steve JMO. And so either way, what I see is the fact that we're here and we're going to witness it. It's pretty amazing. Because when I first figured this out, I was like, why me? Like, put me back to sleep and I want to eat the fake steak, like in the Matrix,
Yep.
But no, it was like the first thing you do is you go, I didn't want, why am I doing it? This sucks, right? That's your first way you feel, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But the longer that you go through this journey and the more amazing people that I've met along the way, I realize this is, and I say everything in my life now I call blessings. There's no more good luck or good fortune. It's all a blessing. And if you change that word to everything that's good in your life as a blessing, and you start saying you literally count your blessings, there's no way you can't believe in the existence of God. So here's the thing. So if everything in your life, the blessing that we have to be able to see this and witness it, because there's at least probably 2-3 generations that have come and gone, probably since, if there is a thing as a reset, whatever, that have come and gone and didn't get to haven't seen the glory of God. And it says in the Revelation that eventually they cry out and say, when are we ever going to be, like avenged or whatever they say? And he says, hang on, it's almost time. So all those people haven't gotten to experience it. We are the generation, I believe, that is going to be alive to see the change. I mean, the oligarchies that run this place, they're talking about a change. We're going to see a change. And it's pretty amazing because everybody that's listening to this right now, believe it or not, you were chosen. It's hard to take that, but you were. And regardless of what you think of yourself or what you've done in your life, God chose you to wake you up. Now, what you do with that information, that's on you, because, again, we have free will. There's people that choose to rebel against that, even though their eyes are open and they believe in God. I'm hearing more and more, because God says if you have to pee, this might be a minute or two. God says that he's going to the devil sows wheats and tares, the tares amongst the wheats. And we're seeing it's happening in our communities right now. And so you get someone that'll come on a channel and then tell you, hey, there is no savior. We are the gods that you're waiting for, and we need to change our reality, and we need to keep coming back, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I hear this before. There was someone that actually said that, and his name was Satan. He's the one that said he can do like God, and he doesn't need him above him. And so even of the people that believe in God, but then don't believe in a savior, well, then by definition, they're actually acting like Satan. So even if they don't believe in Satan, they're doing the definition that has been told about in the Bible. So regardless, I feel that's a falling away. So that's why I say you've got to, use your discernment when you're listening to people, because anybody can tell you stories and stuff that they've read, but it's not just what it comes out of the man's mouth. It's what's in his heart. And they say that, all you have to do is just to listen, and then you'll see, and use your discernment on it.
Yep. And so directly from what Jesus said, right? He said, make a tree good and its fruit will be good, or make a tree bad and its fruit will be bad, for trees recognized by its fruit. He said, you brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in him, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil that is stored up in him. But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word that they've spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. He laid it out pretty clear. There's not much, again, that there's not this secret decoder ring, right, that's necessary to understand the words of Jesus. He did speak in parables, but he also explained them. And he said very clearly, this is why I speak in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand, right? It's very clear that those who have eyes to see the Spirit speaks to your heart. And when it speaks to you, we've talked very often about frequency and resonance. So when your spirit, your inner person is at a place that it resonates with you, then you seek the light. It says in John, and I mentioned this morning, that light came into the darkness, and the darkness perceived it not. It's not the same frequency. And light casts out darkness. So those who are in love with darkness, they don't want to see the light. They hate it. Right. I mentioned this morning again just before the crucifixion, they were given. Lynn Michelle, it's so kind. Thank you so much. But so they were given the choice, right, to have Barabbas released or Jesus released, and they cried, "Release Barabbas," not because they had any love for Barabbas, but because they so hated the truth that they wanted Jesus to die. And it just takes a moment to get that through the understanding, right, of how desperately people who hate the truth do. They hate it. And if you live for the truth, guess what? They're going to hate you too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's I don't know. That's about all I can say on that.
Okay.
I was working off of I'll tell you what, this morning you mentioned, you were discussing the Muslim faith and how similar it is to Christianity. And so, I have a friend right now, one of my dearest friends, and he's taught me a lot about what they believe. And it is pretty incredible that it is, like you said, as close to Christianity beliefs as I've ever seen. And once again, the media tries to skew it and make it something else that it isn't. And also right now, I did want to say a prayer. His mother's in the hospital, and I said I would pray for her. So a lot of people are dealing with that. A lot of people are having people that are sick and in the hospital right now, and I just in Jesus' name I pray for them. But he showed me this thing, exactly what you told me, that the basic story is that when God created Adam, man, and he told their version of Lucifer, Satan, that you should show reverence to man, he didn't want to do it. He was too prideful. And I think that's where we get that saying, pride before a fall, because since he refused God, and then he felt that he didn't even need God above him, because, like I said, he's the God of this world, and that's that Luciferian indoctrination. And so he cut himself off from perfect love and perfection, like you said this morning. And so I looked into, because you said there's 4 elements, we've got fire, earth, air, and water. And according to their stories, they felt their Satan Lucifer character, he had fire and air, which are they lift up and they go up, and man had the water and the earth, so it stayed down. So he felt he was above, literally, man. I mean, honestly, Satan was the first racist, I guess, because he felt better than us. And so when I started thinking and looking into this whole thing about him, one of the things is you wonder, when I read the Bible and when Peter denies knowing Jesus 3 times, and I was like, how in the heck could you do that? You've walked with the man. You've seen these miracles. You've changed your life for it. And then you do that. I don't understand how you could fall away at that moment. And then I realized that Satan was seated at the right hand of God, and he rebelled. So any of us at any moment could be deceived or rebelled. You know what I mean? If Satan could do it, anyone could, right? And so that's the whole free will. And you have choices. And if you know he exists and you choose to rebel, well, that's your path. I just don't recommend it. And when I looked at the 4 elements, and I started thinking, so what's the 5th element, right? And one of the things that they say is the 5th element, believe it or not, is ether, right? And so that's what we keep talking about, is the ether. That's where all of our spiritual, all of our memories, everything is up in the ether, and we just access it. So if the ether basically is God, and he breathed life into you, well, then to me, that's the 5th element, right? Is God's love, the ether in us.
Yeah, we're surrounded by it. Yeah.
But it's in us too. And that's the connection to God. That is the 5th element for us. So
Okay. I didn't know if you were landing there or not.
Well, no, I kind of got off squirrel. But, because we do live in, if anybody doesn't believe we don't live in, because Satan's allowed to run this world, okay? And if you don't believe that, I found this story, and this is shocking, and people don't realize this is happening. I did a report about, it was last year. And so it said here in this report that, where is it? I think it was April. Here it is. In April of 2020, there was it was probably March of 2020. There was 3.3 million unemployed. Okay, they like their numbers, 33. Then in April, it doubled to 6.6, of course. But here's the thing. Right now, they just brought out on their 1.9 trillion package, they said in it that there are now 18 million people at unemployment. Of course, it's 3 6s, but that's a shocking number, and no one's talking about it.
Yep. As
of February, 18 million are unemployed, and nearly 100,000 businesses have permanently shut down.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of them here in Seattle. Many of them are restaurants, right? And so in fact, an entire industry shut down in terms of live events, right, of all kinds, whether that's theater or music. They have really crushed an entire industry. And the interesting thing about that is that it has been proven throughout time that when times get bad and money is tight, spending for entertainment actually goes up because people look for escapism. So they spend more on music, on the theater, on sporting events, even when it costs them a larger percentage of their income. And now that was taken away from them. They didn't even have that relief. What did they give you? The pot shop stayed open, certainly. The alcohol stores stayed open. I'm sure the drug dealers managed to stay open, certainly. The pharmaceutical industry made some money out of the deal. So again, keep in mind that pretty much everything is scripted and controlled. And I've been watching this situation develop very closely for the last few years, how very few things happen that they did not previously telegraph. We cover this frequently on Secrets of Saturn, in fact, on Wednesday nights with Wayne McCroy and Jason Lindgren and sometimes other guests, Crow and some other folks. Mark Bloom has been there a couple of times now. It is very, very rarely this stuff is not organic. It's scripted. It's being played out. They've practiced and rehearsed in advance nearly every single one of what we would consider, false flags, disingenuous designation distraction events. Nearly every single one of those has had a simulation running either in the days prior or many of them right at the same time and in the same location as the actual event. So, geez. And yet, the president at the time, George W., says no one could have imagined, no one could have envisioned people flying planes into a building, except for right at the same time. Out of the other side of their mouth, they said, well, the reason that air traffic control, NORDAD, didn't shut things down is because they were doing an exercise of that at the exact same time. And so they didn't know if it was real or not. It is entirely a false construct. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. That's so very kind of you. I got to tell you, I'm sorry, I'm going to squirrel for a minute here.
Go for it.
I looked back, as I try to do, at the chat log from this morning. I rarely get a chance to see it during the streams. And so I try to catch it afterwards, and kind of just zip through it. I don't listen to the program. I listen to the noodles to see if there's anything interesting there, because it's all extemporaneous. But so sometimes I listen to that. But I really just go through the chat log and just zip through the thing. And I got to tell you, I was just, again, so struck today from just this morning's chat log, how beautiful you guys are. It touched my heart so deeply. Like, I'm in love with you guys. You're amazing. And taking care of one another. And for those who are down and discouraged, lifting one another up, celebrating one another's victories. You guys are the fucking best, man. Now I'm going to start to sound like Stavely. Going to get Stavely over here. You guys are freaking best. Unbelievable. But really, the conversations that I've had with folks offline and on, but the emails that you send, and keep that coming. I regret that I cannot answer all of them as deeply and as much as I'd like, simply because there's not time. But I try. Right, I will always respond. I try to, to respond. But I got to just tell you, I'm so deeply touched by just the amazing sense of community that is being developed here, and I have all of you to thank for that. It's not us, right? We're just here making a platform for it, but it's you guys that do it. So thank you, all of you, so much for being here regularly and for just being who you are. So we got that going, which is nice.
Nice.
It's nice. Forget about it. It's nice.
You guys are terrible.
Yeah, forget about it, right? Don't put that diaper on your face. And I just wanted to throw this in again. I see, again, so folks struggle and quite a bit. Keep in mind, again, the words of Jesus: ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you'll find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks, they'll receive. And the one who seeks finds. And the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Right? Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a snake? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. And this sums up the law and the prophets, right? And so, again, you will find what you're looking for. If you're looking for bad things, you will certainly find it. If you're looking to be grateful, you'll find it, right? And this is the very next thing he said, and this is actually what I had open here to get to from your earlier remarks, CFM, which is, again, it's not easy, right? So why are you feeling alone? Why are you feeling so separate? Jesus told you. He said, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is broad that leads to destruction, and many who enter through it. Most people, but the small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Hey, Duck Bear, thank you, man. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome.
I just love Scripture, and then you go, thanks, Duck Bear.
Well, thank you, Duck Bear, right? Yeah, right. This is what I'm talking about. You guys are just, it's awesome. I'm just so thankful and so thrilled. You guys are just, you're terrific. So I didn't mean to get distracted there, but it's always a bit of a shock for me to like super chats and stuff. I'm like, what? Oh, cool. Like, oh, okay. That wasn't, I mean,
Shiny thing,
yeah. Jason and I have been talking a little bit. I mostly ignore. There's a couple of knuckleheads that troll us from time to time, right? And they love this.
I don't even give them any energy.
I don't either. But it's kind of funny that he sent me, a link to a thing. And again, I never listened to it, but one of the things he's always like, oh, they're trying to take your money. It's like, what? Like, I don't recall ever asking for anything other than for somebody else to give it away or for a piece of gear. I don't recall ever asking. I mean, people have asked if they could contribute, and I set up ways for them to do that at their request. So it's just funny to me that those two typically who accuse you of things, they are projecting. They accuse you of what they themselves are doing. And so they go, oh, you're lying. It's like, about what? I read Scripture. I give you my opinion and read Scripture. It's funny.
People that do that are ones that they're going against. It's funny. The ones that even say that they're Christians and all that, they're actually going against the
directly against God.
I
know.
And the commandments. They're bearing false witness. They're doing jealousy. They're all those things. I mean, it's a whole list they're breaking, and so it's like, only that kind of person would want to tear someone down. Again, we didn't come on here because we're going to make millions of dollars from this. We came on here because we felt something in our... Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear.
We came on here because we felt something strong in our hearts, and God was speaking to us, we feel, and so we had to share that.
Yeah,
that's what
couldn't
we came
keep
on
quiet.
Here.
Right.
And so people that create these things, some of them are paid to do it. Some of them are actually probably possessed by demons. Who knows?
It seems like it.
But
some are just mentally ill.
Yeah. The way I look at it now is like, I don't even give it any response, but I do know that they listen, so maybe they'll learn something, and maybe eventually they'll repent their ways, and we'll see them. Who knows? Because what you said earlier is one of the hardest things. Love thy neighbor. What if your neighbor's an asshole? Okay,
yeah.
So God says that. Guess what he says? He says, oh, shit, it's Eve. Sorry, he's cursing. See, Brian Stabley's in here. See, right? God says, look, it's easy to love someone that loves you.
Yeah.
That's easy. How hard is that? That's no test.
Yeah.
Can you love the person that hates you and convince them that they're error of their ways and convince them to love? That's the real big deal to try to do. The other one's easy.
Yeah. And so, again, this is all pretty much most of this is coming from the book of Matthew, right? 7 through 11. This is, again, Matthew 7. He said, watch out for the false ones, right? They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them, right? So is it doing good or is it doing evil? Is someone's entire focus on yelling at people and calling everyone a liar and a shill? Or are they doing what, if you want to listen to yesterday's unintended consequences, right, is just the idea of all the information. If you knew everything that was in the Vatican archives, it wouldn't make you a better person, right? Yeah. If we have come to this place of understanding in this community that ultimately, Melanie, God, thank you so much. You are just the best. You're so sweet. I love you. Oh, the green butter biscuits and gravy. It was really good, by the way. But if you had all that information that was in the Vatican archives, right, it would not get you 1 inch closer to the kingdom. We have discovered, I think all of us, right, that ultimately what we have come to is this is a spiritual battle. And if that is the case, it's spiritual battle, then how does knowing what the battlefield looks like make any difference if you don't take part in the fight? And the only way you can do that, again, is we battle not, right, against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. So if you're attacking people around you, you're missing the boat, right? You're attacking the wrong thing. Even those who are, like the government and all that sort of stuff, they're people. They may be controlled by darkness, but they're people. That's not our enemy. The real enemy, right, is the darkness that's trying to steal your soul, right? Trying to steal your soul. So anyway, that's there we go, right?
No, I agree 100% because that's the thing. Like that whole thing that they said happened where they stormed the castle, and who are you storming? What are you doing? Like if the government is the people that have created this situation, are you going to go there and ask them to change it? No, you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. You're not fighting them. They're just puppets. If Bill Gates wasn't the head of all this, it'd be somebody else. You know?
Exactly.
And
it was before, right? Before now, it was somebody else, all doing the same stuff.
Yeah. So I started looking into this because we're now. If you look up who's the most powerful doctor in the world right now on a search, it says Bill Gates.
Yeah, I know. I know. I did that search with my wife. I just said I used Google text to speech. I said, "Who's the most powerful doctor in the world?" It came back Bill Gates. She went, Yeah. Oh yeah.
So of course this correlates exactly where I'm at because I'm reading I put the Bible on an audio so I can do things through the day and I can listen to it. So that's how I read it. And I just finished I'm in Leviticus right now, and as I'm reading it. Guess who's in charge of the laws and your health and anything that has to do with like plagues and all that? They're called priests. See, when Moses was set up with God, everyone was coming to him going, "Hey, Moses, I think that guy took my wallet or whatever they had, my couch, my mat, whatever." Yep. Mm-hmm. And Moses is like, he's getting like exhausted. I think it was his dad or his father-in-law came over and is like, "Dude, you're going to die. You got to do something about this. You got to tell God you need an in-betweener." So they took the Levites and they made them the priests of the thing. And they didn't have to really work or do anything anymore. Everyone did it for them. That was like the tax of the day. But then they would solve all the things and come up with the medicines and heal people and all
judges,
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they were the, quote, doctors of the day. And they were called priests. And, that word has been taken and morphed by like religions and turned into a really horrific predator kind of thing. But the original thing was just a mediator between God and man. And so then I started thinking about they were actually the doctors of the day. So then I looked up the word doctor. And, that one starts, and it talks also about a learned authoritarian teacher. And so that's where you get that. But it says in Christianity, a theologian declared a sound expounder of doctrine. So now you get into the doctrination of people and completely not what the word was meant to be. And so who do we have nowadays as the people telling us our health and all that? Are the doctors, right? They're not the priests anymore. That word's turned bad, and the doctor's the savior for everyone. But actually, they're the ones that have been put in by the religious aspects. And one more thing I'll tell you. Do you know what they call it in a Muslim faith when you your placement of your body is in reverence and submission to God? It's like one of the holiest things, and you bend over or whatever. It's called prostration. So guess what happens now? Now you go to the doctor's office, they make you bend over and they shove digits up your butt.
Don't touch my prostate.
They're at this point where it's like Satan's world is just saying, no, you're going to bow to me, and I'm going to prove it because we're going to insert things inside you for no damn reason. You tell me one thing that gets solved because the doctor shoved his finger up my butt. I'm sorry, you could do a biopsy, you could do a blood, whatever, you can X-ray, whatever. Why is that? How's that help me? I'm sorry. I don't know.
You took it there. That's you went to the butt. I
drifted.
That is drifting. Drift. Yeah. But yeah.
But we're putting our faith in these guys, and we're supposed to listen to everything they say. And yet, if you look up autoimmune disease, there's about, I don't know, at least a dozen, and every one of them, they don't know what causes it.
Oh no.
Do unless someone can prove me wrong, to this day, medical science has cured none. Zero, not one thing.
Well, if you talk to any honest pharmacist, and most of them won't tell you, but an honest pharmacist will tell you that the actual mechanism for nearly all pharmaceutical products is we don't know. They don't know the actual mechanism. They know that it does produce an effect in a certain percentage of the people, and with if it supposedly. This is how it goes, right? Is if it has limited side effects and works in a certain percentage, then it can be prescribed for that. Most of them are off-label. In other words, it was designed for one thing. It didn't really do that, but kind of did something else. So sure, okay, we'll use it for that. But the mechanism is we don't know. It's unknown in almost all of them. And so
you wonder why they don't know. They shoved a finger up your ass and go, I don't know what's causing it. I mean, how does that help?
They sniff it and they say, smells like poop, right? That sounds good. Well, truth in the movies, lies in the news, Dr. Evil. There you go. Dr. Evil. $1 billion. Yeah. I don't know. You got me distracted with going for the butt.
Somebody was eating, I think. So sorry about that, whoever that was.
Sorry about that.
It says Sorta Scriptural.
It does. It does say Sorta Scriptural. I will allow it, but
you read the ticket before you walked into the theater. Sorry.
There is however, there is a full money back guarantee. So.
Well, you got a few, so yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, anyway, to the point, right, is ultimately you'll know them by their fruits, right? And if that describes you, right, again, there's a story that I used to live in Salt Lake City for a time, right? And it's the mothership for a particular religion that's based on it's based on Masonic teachings. The Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're telling you right there that's their Jesus. It's not the Jesus. It's their Jesus. But they're big on having their missionaries show up on bikes, and but they're asshole drivers. I got to tell you, and they have this thing about persecution, right? So if you go, hey, and again, this is consistent with what I was talking about in Unintended Consequences yesterday. The difference between the person and the behavior. So you say, hey, you're driving like an asshole, and they say, oh my God, you just don't like me because I'm Mormon. I had no idea you were Mormon, but it kind of makes sense the way you're driving, right? I'm not saying that you're driving like a Mormon. I'm saying you're driving like an asshole, right? If being Mormon makes you an asshole, then maybe reconsider. And so I actually wrote a thing. They didn't publish it, but I wrote an op-ed for their paper there, the Deseret Time or Deseret. I can't remember the newspaper there. But saying, before you talk about golden plates, maybe you should talk about the golden rule. Learn that one, right? So I entitled it Mormons on Bikes versus Mormons in Cars. The Mormons on Bikes, the missionaries, are really nice, right? Because they're trying to convince you to join their religion. But once they get into cars, they become assholes because they believe that they're already a god, right? They're going to get their own planet when they die. So I got to tell you, space is fake. Space is fake. It's fake. Space is fake.
Don't ruin it for me.
Yeah,
Don't ruin it for me.
yeah, that's right. So, there you go. So anyway, but here's the other interesting thing I found about that is that after living there for about 4 years, one of the things that happens when you're driving in that sort of circumstance is that people do these things, right? Here's one. They have this thing. If you want to change lanes to get over to exit, right? They'll pretend they don't see you and just cut you off. They'll like ignore you, and they'll do these little tricks, right? And after a while, you get used to their tricks, you know their game, and then you do it yourself, right? Because it's the only way you can do it. And all of a sudden you realize, it used to be them, but now I'm pretty sure it's me, right? You by beholding, you become changed. And when you are surrounded in it, sort of like when in Rome, right? You begin to do that, you become affected by it. And so this is where I come back to this, whatever you seek, you will find. And I mentioned that to somebody in our chat, right? Who's having all kinds of stuff that they're going through. But if you're looking for negative things, you're going to find it. If that's what you're looking for, I guarantee you're going to find it. If you are looking for ways to be grateful or even ways to help others, right? And so I guarantee this, money back guarantee, right? If you're struggling in your life and you don't know where to turn or what to do, I'd say first thing, go to Dad, right? But if you're looking for a practical thing, go find someone you can help. Right? Go find someone you can help. And if that does not alter, it may not fix your problem, but if it does not alter your outlook, money back guarantee, right? I'll take it. I'll take it back.
But again, it's not a magic trick. Don't say like, oh, this thing's really crappy in my life. I'm going to go give a homeless man $20 and see what happens.
That's not
help.
It
doesn't work like that.
That's not what I mean. That's not help.
Yeah. No, I know that. I'm talking to the people in the chat that don't understand.
Oh, okay.
You know who you are. No, I don't know. I'm just
you know who you are.
But no, dear. It's like you have to change your way of thinking, exactly what you said. So when you're having this trouble, instead of embracing that darkness and go, woe is me, you have to say, okay, what do I have right in my life? And what is wrong? And the things that are wrong, why are they wrong? And what can I do to try to fix this situation? And if you can't figure that out by yourself, ask God his help. And if you can't help at the same time, find other people in these chats, reach out. People are writing to me in emails. I know they write to you.
Whoa.
And other people in chat are meeting and talking, and there's meetups happening. It's out there. The help is there. You just have to take that step. You have to reach your hand out, and he comes the other half, But you got to put that initial hand out. You can't wait for him to go 100%, right?
Yeah, and but I would also say again, don't rely on other people to fix you, right? Here's a kind of another practical bit of advice I'll point out is if I've had people tell me their woes before, and it sounds like a repeat story, right? So if 5 straight relationships, you say that the last 5 people you've dated are a narcissist, you might want to look at what the least common denominator there is, which is you, right? Maybe it's not what you think. And so if things in your life keep turning out over and over the same way, right? Or if you're having negative results with a thing, you might want to look at the least common denominator, which is you. Right. That is a difficult proposition for most people. We don't want to take that kind of criticism. And again, this is one that I discussed yesterday, again, in Unintended Consequences. As in my younger self, I didn't take any sort of criticism at all well, because I took it as an attack on me personally. And that is not what any of this is, right? One of the biggest things that helped me both internally and externally is to be able to separate the behavior from the person. And so if someone tells me that a behavior of mine bugs them, I'll take a look at it. It might just be them, right? They might just be sensitive, and it's like, okay, sorry about your luck. But it might be that I could change that behavior and be better for it could work out better for everybody, right? I just wasn't aware of how some things were coming across, right? And then internally, if someone gives me a suggestion, right, then I can change that. And if I look at somebody outside, right, again, know them by their fruits, but sometimes they're just having a bad day, right? And if they're acting like a butthole, right, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a butthole. It means that they've had a bad day and they've been surrounded by buttholes, perhaps, right? Again, it gives you a lot of grace. So that would be one thing that I would definitely say is a learning experience most people can use, is the ability to separate the action from the person, right? That those don't necessarily equate to the same thing. That people can be good people doing bad things, but even bad people can do good things. Just because Bill Gates donates some money to some society doesn't make him a good person. Most of the time he donates money, again, it's to either look good or he has some devious plan behind it. Right.
Well, they say every evil act was done by someone that thought they were doing the right thing. They did that whole Thanos movie in Avengers about,
Yep.
It's that whole idea.
Truth in the movies and lies in the news. Say hi to the dogs for me.
Say hi to the dogs?
Yeah. I heard your dogs in the background. I said, say hi to them for me.
Oh, sorry. I had my headphones. I didn't even hear them. That's funny.
Especially Jupiter. Jupe. Good dog.
I know. It's so funny, too, because we listen to Truther channels, and one of my dogs' name is Jupiter, and everybody talks about Jupiter. Like, I guess it's doing something tonight and the next few nights, too. So it's like every time they say, what? Someone, what? Who needs me? It's like everyone says it in their streams.
Interesting. I still had Matthew 7 open here, and
cool.
This is I just kind of wanted just continue this thought because there's so much meat in what he's offering here. This segment of what Jesus is talking about, right? So he says again here clearly, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who do the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons and perform many miracles? And then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Right? Away from me, you evildoers. And the word knew you there is actually the way it's put is a very intimate relationship, a very close, personal, intimate relationship. I didn't really know you. You don't know me like that. So interestingly, again, what he's saying here is that you'll know them again by their fruits, just because you claim it. If you don't have that intimate relationship with Dad, right, then it's going to be it's not about, again, what you do. And this is something that I think most people who are within the religious community fail to recognize, is that they think they're going to work their way into the kingdom, right? That if they keep these rules, if they observe these times and dates and do all this stuff, then they're going to build up credit, right, with Dad. And I have nothing against those who are responding from a place of gratitude to try to do what they think Dad wanted for people a long time ago. Right? He gave instructions to people a long time ago, and some of it's great advice, right? Like you talked about the kosher stuff, right? Not eating bottom feeders, right? Well, they eat the poop, right? So crustaceans, shellfish, well, they eat the poop. Pigs, they eat garbage, right? So there were reasons that he did that, and mostly it's not to keep you from having fun and going, I hate bacon, because nobody hates bacon, but he was trying to keep them safe. And in the same way that he, asked you to withhold sexual gratification, right, before marriage. He wasn't trying to keep you from having fun. He's trying to save your heart. Without getting too deep into that, it's not a prudish thing. It's not trying to keep you from fun. It's trying to keep you safe because he loves you. And that is the Dad that I know, right? Everything that I ever see him do is from a place of love. And if people aren't operating from a place of love, I'll say it again, if love is not the motive, God is not involved. Right. So if you're a follower of someone whose only content is to hate and yell and talk bad about people and make accusations, that's not coming from Dad, I guarantee you, no matter what they say. And to go along with that, it's like you want the existence of a loving God. Like, have you seen how salmon procreate? Like, they're not even in the same room. Mm-hmm. God gave us an incredible gift of procreation that it's an amazing act.
And so yeah.
But why did he put the dumpster so close to the playground?
Why do we keep going back there in the stream? We're supposed to
Well, it's a tale I got to tell.
Someone's still eating in this room. I feel bad every time.
I'm just analyzing it. We're going to rectify this situation, I promise. We'll get to the bottom of it.
See, you guys, you got him started. That he'll never end.
It's a dark hole. It's a dark hole to go down. I'm sorry. It can be a pain in the butt sometimes. I know that.
Do you have a list written on your arm?
No.
How did you, you're waiting for these?
No. No, they're just rectal extractions. I just pull them straight out of my butt. I'm sorry.
Okay, squirrel. We got
squirrel.
Distracted.
Yeah, exactly. And so I will say this also, as CFM and I both say, that if you take a look at me and the duck-billed platypus, this is not the work of a serious deity. I am proof positive that God has a sense of humor. Because
and shout out to Mike Airborne Saint, by the way. He's becoming everyone's disclaimer. It's a beautiful one. And but he taught me this one thing. He's like, if you want to know if God has a sense of humor, just tell him what your plans are.
Yeah.
And I think of that all the time. Because, whenever I hey, I'm going to do this, I just know now he's up there going, okay, go for it. And then it doesn't work. And then he's like, well, how about this? And things like that are happening currently in my life right now, in everyone's life. So that's the way I've looked at it. I flipped the script on it. Instead of being in fear of everything, I laugh at it. That's why I go back to that old Batman thing. We have the original Batman from the TV show with the over-the-top villains that are just ridiculously funny. Joker is easy to spot. He's in a purple outfit, and so it's like. That's where you have to go with. Instead of being afraid of it, look at it. Our villains are ridiculous. They're telling people they got to put on 2, 3, 4 of those things. When back in March, and I played it multiple times, in fact, one of those streams got taken down, where they own companies, the letters you can't say that has cat, dog, and cat in it. They said in March that's stupid to do that thing over your mouth. And now the same people are saying it's great, do 2, 3, 4. Then I saw another article that says, if they're moist, it's actually more better for you.
Oh, God. What? No way.
Everything's changing.
Oh, God. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And now they say that they put something in you that I don't know. I'm just saying it's you have to just take a step back and say, now that they're not to go back here to the backside again, they're shoving things up your butt to test for respiratory disease. When have you ever tested for respiratory disease by sticking things up your anus? None of it makes sense. It's nonsense.
It is nonsense.
But it's hilarious. I know it sucks. A lot of stuff's been shut down. A lot of lives are being affected. At the same time, I've made more real connections of real people. I've had more enjoyment in moments with people and connections and things going on in my life. I've felt more joy and excitement and vibrance in this last year than I've ever seen in my lifetime. And it's just going to increase. What does that mean? You going to go for the fear side of it, or are you going to join up and just have God embrace you? And you can sit with him and going, holy shit, look what's going on out there. I'm glad I'm not involved in it, because that's the way I see we get through it, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. That hand in hand with this craziness going on. And I got to say, it does seem to me to be part of the controllers, the powers that be, or whatever. It is part of their plan, right, to use this as a litmus test, and it's a dividing line. They polarized people, and it becomes very, very clear who's in with their game and who's not. Right, you can just walk outside and you can tell who is on board with their nonsense and who's not. So the guy out there with 3 masks on, I guarantee you that he absolutely believes that there is a car flying around in space. Right. Right. And so the guy without the mask, pretty good chance that he knows that's nonsense. Right. So it is becoming easier and easier now to tell the difference. I think by design, I think that is their intention, is to separate people from one another and do it on purpose. So, it's easier for them to tell, and it's easier in a way. It serves our purposes. We can certainly tell more clearly. But it does make those of us who are not wanting to be part of the matrix, giving us motivation, again, to do this communal living thing and to try to separate as far as we can from the matrix. We don't want it or need it. Not investing in cryptocurrency or digging deeper into the system. What I am doing is trying to find more ways to be self-sufficient, self-supportive, and to get out of the system as much as possible. Because I have noticed, and something that I have talked about several times in the last few months and been watching for really a couple of years is this idea of, between the election and the inauguration, Uncle Joe Sniffy, Snuffleupagus, said more than 24 times in a fortnight that he promised it was going to be a dark winter. And Heels Up Harris said it at least another 10 times during that same period of time. So almost 35 times that I counted. I'm sure there were more that they said it was going to be a dark winter. Now, if you go and take a look, if you're familiar with dark skies simulations, it's been done over the past 20 plus years by all of the Five Eyes countries and most of those who are part of the British Commonwealth as well, which is a simulation of long-term power outage. And when you begin to put this together with the fact that they telegraph everything and that they have been telling us again for 40 years how vulnerable and fragile the U.S. power grid is, that it only stands to reason that the quickest and easiest way to get people into smart cities and FEMA camps is to shut off their power. It doesn't take very long. And in fact, according to the outcome of these simulations, within 72 hours, almost all of society completely shuts down. If it goes off for more than 3 weeks, we're really talking about nearly rebuilding a society. If one of the things that it caused was a collapse of backup storage information, all the digital information, like all the bank accounts and records gone, that would literally throw us back to the Stone Age for a minute. Except, right, if they had a backup plan in the smart cities, we can only support you here. You can't be anywhere else, and this goes hand in hand with Agenda 21. Stack them and pack them and keep everybody out of the rural areas because they own it and control it. It seems to be that we're on the verge of that right now. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm saying this is what they tell us that they're going to do. They've said they're going to do it. As much as they lie, I believe them when they talk to each other. Right. So I'll throw that at you.
No, and you know what? I was having this exact discussion because when you think about it, they took the word prepper and they made it sound like a negative. They do that with everything in our world. But so God taught us to be preppers, right?
Yep.
Look at what he did with Noah. Get all this stuff, get ready because something's happening, right? He did the same thing with when we were going through the desert with Moses, right? He has bread. It just appears like almost like it grows out of the ground. It's funny. You know what made me think about this? You were talking about us on your stream this morning. You said the food literally grows out of the ground at their house. Yeah. And that's what what they describe manna. I know it rains from heaven, but if you don't get it in that day, then it dissolves and turns into maggots and stuff. And what does he say? He wants everyone to rest like he did. So on that 6th day, he gives you double portions, and you can't go back on the 7th day. There's nothing there. And so it's kind of that whole thing. He said prep, right? Because You're not supposed to go on the 7th, get twice as much on the 6th. And it's the same thing now. We are the ones that have our eyes awake. If you're here, you're probably not wearing, unless you're forced into it for whatever reason. You don't want to. You know the nonsense going on with the stuff on the face and in the arm. We know that. So you're awake. So once again, a blessing. We know that most likely there's a change coming. If not very soon, it's coming. We know that. So now is the time. Fill your oil lamps. And if you don't know that reference, look it up. It's in the Bible. It's pretty awesome. But fill your oil lamps. Get some preparedness. Get some food and water that you can survive. Because if you go back a couple of years, I'd have to look them up. I can't find them now. But back when the Orange Man was president, he came out with an executive order that said we should be prepared to be without power for 6 months or longer. Yep. And right after that, the Department of Homeland, whatever, says, I don't know what you can say anymore, insecurity. They did the same thing like a few months after that or before. Yep. Same thing. Up to 6 months. And so it's like nobody saw it. Nobody knows. They're telling you that is a real thing.
Yeah, they've been telling us how fragile it is and saying that it could be anything from, just power, too much power being used and they're not load shedding properly to, cyber attack or the Chinese. In fact, here's one that
the Chinese. Do you know they own most of the electrical on the West Coast? Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, right? So there's a thing going around in the fact check community. Did Biden? Let me show you this. Let's see. I got this standing by. So, did Biden rescind Trump order prohibiting Chinese influence on the power grid? Their whole point is to go, no, that didn't happen. And yet, from Department of Energy.gov, here's energy.gov, from the horse's mouth, February 9, on January 2020, 2021, President Biden issued an executive order that basically rescinded the protections that Trump had put in place and essentially left the power grid almost entirely unprotected for a period of 90 days. It's a 90-day suspension. So he did it after saying 25 times in 2 weeks that it's going to be a dark winter. No, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to tell you the truth, right? I'm trying to tell you what's going on. I'm not doing it, right? They're doing it. All I'm doing is telling you what they're doing and saying it's a good idea to be prepared. Am I saying for sure that they're going to do it next week? I don't know that. But I do know that it seems like they're going to do it because they've been telling you they're going to do it, right? Yeah. So I'm not trying to scare you by saying they're going to do what they say.
That's the same thing. It's like God was trying to scare Noah by saying, build this ark and prepare. No, he was trying to get him prepared because that could happen.
And to your earlier point, if those who are in the Sabbath keeping community know that Friday is called Preparation Day, as you said, right? It is called Preparation Day, in which you get everything ready for the Sabbath. So he did, in fact, teach us to be preppers. But I just wanted to point that out, right? That there is a concerted effort, right, to cause you to live in fear, right, and to get you to agree to things, right? So at this point, what they can do is, let's say they shut off the power and it goes on. They promise to have it back in 36 hours. Nobody gets that message because, their batteries in their radio died. They've got no electricity, no food. Right? Nothing. And people, seriously, according to those reports, after the first 2 weeks, cities were the worst parts of zombie movies. It was the estimations of what would happen is really bad. And so people would, again, we joke about FEMA camps, but people would beat each other up for a chance to get into, after 2 weeks, just to get into a FEMA camp for a hot shower and 15 minutes of Wi-Fi. And don't you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. It is, but what they're going to do is get people to agree to what they never would have before because they've gotten you so used to the modcoms, the modern conveniences, that you can't live without it. And I've long said that the only people that would survive an apocalypse are the Amish. And of course, they're not affected by any of the Crenani because they don't have television, right?
They've never had a pandemic.
Speaking of which, I meant to mention this. I failed to mention. In fact, I didn't even really think of it until my wife had told me. Sorry, I got distracted because Jason just sent me a message. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. So when she was checking into the hospital, right, again, she was presenting with what is very common among women when they're having a heart attack, including shortness of breath, chest pain, and vomiting, right? And so they asked her whenever we were getting her checked in, before they kicked me out, which was as soon as they got her checked in, but before they kicked me out, they said, do you have any symptoms of the Crenani, and they had a list of them up there. There were 6 symptoms, and she actually was coming in with presentations of 4 of them, which are shortness of breath, chest pain, vomiting, and I forgot the other one, but she didn't have a fever. But anyway, 4 of 6, and she said no, and they didn't bat an eye. They didn't test her. They did. She's got 60% of the, or rather 80% of the symptoms, and but they ignore it. Because she said nobody in the back cared. Nobody did a thing about masks. They were not concerned. There was nobody in. She says, you know what? There wasn't a whole ward full of people dying of coronavirus. She's like, there was nobody there. There was a guy who smashed his thumb with a hammer. Of course, it's the middle of the night, but and he was there for about 20 minutes. So anyway, just wanted to point that out, that she had 80% of the symptoms, and they just said, do you have any symptoms? She's like, well, no, because. But I just thought it was, again, remarkable that they know, right? They know it's horse shit. And in the medical community at this point, they've become, they love being the heroes, right? The frontline workers, we're the heroes. So they're not going to let it go. That's just how people are, guys. And so the same with people now. They think that a lot of people talk big and they're going to be the patriot, right? And I'm coming for my guns. Man, they'll give up in a minute if they don't have any food and water. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, that's the joke too. It's like everyone always said, America will never fall. They have all the guns. All these other countries have lost their rights, and they've spent so many years indoctrinating us. Like they're coming for your guns. Be careful, and all these fights that have gone on. They shut down the entire world and didn't fire a shot. We're doing it to ourselves. It's like we're punching ourselves in the face and asking the government to make us stop. They're just laughing at us because nothing that's happened to us. It's all proclamations. And we've done it to ourselves. And they even told us, that's part of the joke. Satan has to work under God's laws. He can't just deceive us completely. He has to expose what he's doing first. And so they tell us, like I said, the same company and the same, do you have a funny name for that, the Italian doctor that's in charge of everything?
Oh, foul cheese. Yeah.
Oh, foul cheese. I knew you'd have one. Yeah. But that guy, he has... On one hand, he says, you got to do all this stuff. You're all going to die. And on the other hand, he did a report in the Doctor's Journal of Medicine back in March of last year where he said it was nothing. So it's like, but no one reads that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so they tell you, and if you don't listen, well, there you go. There's your veil. That's your free will. The information was there. You just chose not to listen.
The same with a lot of... Yep. And the same is true with a lot of this stuff, a lot of these documents, right, that we cover from the think tanks, is that the information is out there. It's not in the news. They want you to get that information from the news, not the letters they send each other, right? They're like, oh no, that's a conspiracy theory, but it's there in black and white. It's in their own handwriting. They just deny it, and people keep accepting it because Peter Jennings didn't tell them.
Right. We all got lazy, like I said, and that Wally, you go home after a hard day work. And you turn on the quote news for 20 minutes, you hear the skewed, then don't even realize you're hearing a skewed view, and then that's it. And then you try to do something for the rest of the night until you do repeat. They got us in this endless loop to where you're just supposed to work from cradle to grave, basically 65, and then hope you have some health and a little bit of money to go finally live your life. That's not what God wanted.
Nope,
we're supposed to do that endless loop of nonsense.
Yep, agreed. I don't think that's ever what he had in mind, right? But he did, he did say that because of our failure to follow him, that we would have to, by the sweat of the brow, that we would eat our bread. It would be a challenge, and then we would work for our food, right? Because we couldn't be trusted at that point just to have all day, every day, to sit around figuring out how to be more evil, which they did anyway.
Right. But we're so far away from our food, we don't even know how it happens. We just go to the big box store, buy our food, and go home and watch football,
I know. And I've seen, I tried to track it down because at first I thought it was like a troll account, and it wasn't. Somebody had, one of these PETA people or whatever had tweeted that, they're, it's to say, you know how to tell if somebody's vegan? Oh, they'll tell you. They will tell you. But no.
And not to dabble too deep into this, because a lot of people get triggered on things, and I don't get it anymore. Like, we know everything's to trigger us. Like you said, my enemy's not anybody that's in this chat. My enemy is higher up. My enemy's principalities and spiritual beings. That's what it's all about. But whatever.
Yeah. Anyway,
so you want to talk about vegetarian, vegans, whatever. I have friends and family, and guess what? Jesus says if they come over, you feed them what they like. That doesn't change me into one.
Oh, that doesn't.
And if you go to their house, you eat what they give you.
That wasn't my point, though.
That doesn't change me either. No, this is my point. I'm sorry.
You squirreled me.
But I stole your spotlight.
You squirreled me.
I squirreled you. So here's the thing. If God didn't want you to eat any meat, I mean, we can go through the argument, was it pre-flood, post-flood, doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. He talks about giving them meat when they're going through Exodus. There's a whole chapters in Leviticus on what to eat, not to eat. If it was just don't eat meat, Leviticus would be like one page, don't eat meat. Next page, you know what I mean?
Sure.
No, he goes through a whole list of what's edible, what isn't, why would he do that? So, and Jesus gives you fish. And so I think that whole argument's kind of silly. Your body tells you what it needs. If you feel that you're getting with the nourishments and stuff, great. If it turns out that you're getting sick or you're feeling like you need to have something, go ahead and do that. As long as it's, it's not something crazy, you can have a little ice cream at midnight. Don't judge me. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta listen to your body. And I find I don't eat as much. I don't eat as often. And I just walk by and then something in the cupboard's like, I need that orange, and you just feel it. And you get more in tune with your body than trying to push it one way or the other. So that's my little thought on that.
Is the squirrel gone now?
I think so. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Smooth Jazz 109.9.
Because I was trying to actually support what you had previously said.
Oh, sweet.
About people who are so far away from their food chain they don't get it. Which is, again, from an account, which was not a troll account. I'm trying to go back. I got to backtrack now to tell the story. That from a vegan person who said, "Well, you guys eat meat. At least, don't you hunters are gross. At least go to the grocery store where the meat, no animals were harmed in that meat." With no idea, no clue of where that comes from. In fact, hunting is the best and most ethical way to get meat, because at least they had a happy life up until that moment. And I'll also say this in support of what you said. If God did not intend for us to eat animals, he wouldn't have made them out of meat. So,
I like it.
There's that. But keep those squirrels in check, would you?
Sorry.
And okay, so I will also add, this is, I'm going to be very direct here. I rarely do this, but I'm going to be very direct. Okay, how do we get here? I need you to breathe, okay? I don't need you being a distraction. I understand you're going through it. You've had offers for people to reach out to you, and that's open. So take advantage of that. But in every stream you come in and complain, and it's a distraction to others. I'm trying to keep the energy positive and good, right? And I'm not trying to be harsh on you, but I've asked this before. I don't want to put you in timeout. That's the last thing I'm going to say about it. Thank you. I love you. You're welcome here anytime and all the time. But I need not to be a distraction anymore, okay? Thank you. All righty then.
And Brian Jackson was late. He needs to stay after class. I just thought I'd add that. So
yeah, but Brian's he's a good guy, and he has a lot of distractions.
No, I was trying to add more.
Brian is living out exactly what I said earlier. If you're going through it, reach out to someone else. Brian had just recently lost unexpectedly his fiancée, and so. If you can, donate to his GoFundMe, but he's doing exactly that. He's in a lot of pain, and what did he do? He reached out to somebody else. So,
yeah, I was using him as trying to make humor and light, but I God bless you, Brian. I know what you're going through. So, way to make me feel bad.
Okay. No, Brian, you don't have to be sorry for anything, dude. We love you.
No, it's awesome.
So. Just a little timeout. I asked nicely. If you want, I encourage you to get one of these guys right here, which is a, let's see if I can find this. One of those shirts, the FTFF shirts. It's coming from Scooter, one of our members of our community. So you can get that. He's also done some silk screens of those, and he'll have those at the Solar Return Festival. So I encourage that. Also coming up, again, just to remind you of the Solar Return Festival, coming up in just about 3 weeks now, just over 3 weeks. Solar Return, including arts and musics from a variety of your favorite folks, including Media Bear, Watson Atkinson, Christian Knapp, Chief Crow and the Flat Earthworms, ODD TV making his debut appearance, doing music, Jason Lindgren, One Big Love, and of course Cammie and Zach will be there with the How the World Works exhibit. I will be doing the jam session, so if you're interested in that, you play an instrument and you'd like to sit in, go ahead and send me an email, unintended.consequences3@gmail.com, and reach out to me, and we'll try to get you hooked in for a little jam session. We'll probably do a little bit of a sound check the day before, figure out what's going on there. We'll have a list, and we'll kind of figure all that out. So it'll be good for the people. We're just going to have a good time there. All right. So about to bring this plane in for a landing. My friend Ceiling Fan Man, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this crazy, shiny, squirrel-laden conversation, a little heart-to-heart, with the amazing introduction song, by the way?
Well, I guess first of all, I would start off by saying thank you so much. That was just so fun that you did that, and everybody in the chat. This is my family. I just love you all, and we'll figure this out. We'll get through it together, and I guess I'll end with this. Don't bend over for the government. Stand your ground. Stand strong in God's love, and reach out to Him and talk to Him on a daily basis, not just when you're in trouble. Because if you're that friend that you're only getting, let's say you got a friend that only calls you when he needs he needs to move, or he needs to borrow your truck, or he needs money. After a while, you might not pick up that call. And if the only time that you're reaching out to God is when you're completely at your wit's end, yeah, He can be there for you, but after a while, He might not take that phone call because He needs you to tell Him, know He's there all the time and not just in the bad times. Know that the good things come from Him. Every joy that you've ever had in your life was a blessing from your Creator. And once you start to figure that out, you'll realize the troubles in your life are just ways to try to break that connection, distractions from Satan. And He allows it because He needs to see that you have the strength and the faith in your free will to want that relationship, because that is the free will. This isn't about fear. People say, oh, well, if you don't follow God's things, you go to... No, He wants to know that you want that relationship. And so that's the only way He can do it, is you have to reach out and tell Him you want it. And there you go. And there's your children of Israel. Doesn't matter where you're from. Oh, and we're also having potatoes for dinner.
Oh,
Ceiling Fan Man.
Thank you. Hi, Mrs. Ceiling Fan Man. Mrs. Baldini says hi. And she is so impressed, by the way, with that bag you made. She's totally using it all the time. She's like, she did a great job.
His wife was prompted my wife to start learning to sew. And now she's like sewing like a maniac. And she made a bag for Mrs. Baldini. And it's freaking awesome. And I can't wait because she's going to make me, it's not a bag, it's a satchel. Just asking
Ooh, a satchel.
And that way I can go when I'm on my walks and I can pick up stuff.
Oh, it's like a merce. It's a man purse.
I
got you.
A satchel.
Okay, and you got to be, careful about those words. I noticed earlier you kind of conflated prostate with prostrate, which are two things. And so I'm going to leave on this note the story.
You're back there again.
I am, and I'm going to leave on this note. This is a story of the monk, and he was a Benedictine monk, and so he was involved in copying all the scripture, and he spent his entire lifetime copying scripture, and he was very good at it, word for word, very detailed, including the illustrations. He did amazing work, and he spent his entire life really working on that, and so finally, he passed away, and when he went to the pearly gates, they welcomed him, and he had done this great work, and they said, what do you want to do? And he's like, oh, I really want to go look at the originals. We've only had copies forever, and so I want to make sure that all the work that I did was accurate, and so I wanted to check the originals. And I'm like, yeah, totally, you can do that. And so they let him into the library in the pearly gates. Well, he was in there for hours, and all of a sudden they hear wailing and just this mournful, bailing, terrible sound coming from inside. And he comes out and he's just weeping. And they're like, what, brother, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, they missed the R. And they're like, what are you talking about? He was disconsolate. He just couldn't talk. And he's like, they missed the R. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, the word was celebrate.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go. I'll I didn't say I didn't say they were going to be good jokes. I just said they were going to be jokes. All right.
You're not the friend I was looking for. You're the friend I deserve.
All right. Yeah. Okay. As usual, my friend, I'm going to drop the call just before I go to the outro music because I can't do both at the same time.
No
I love you, my friend, and I'll talk to you probably in just a few minutes. All right. So I'll drop that call. Thanks so much. Thanks to everybody who's been here and who has been ardent supporters of the show. Thank you so much for the super chats tonight. This is off the hook. You guys are crazy cool. I'm so grateful, as is Mrs. Baldini. And again, I just wanted to go back through Melanie Moran and Sue Finelli and Winston, and you guys are just amazing. Cammie, Isling 717, Karen B and Ted, just V Thomas, all you guys who come regularly and are so participate in the chat, Fathead and Kurt, guys, you guys are awesome, man. You lift my heart up every day, and you just fill me with love. This is what I think we're supposed to do, is to support and encourage one another. And I'm just so grateful and so pleased for you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of my life and for being here regularly. It's just awesome. I will leave you with this. It's a song from probably 1994. This is a later recording, but written by Joe Ray and Jim Rogers and myself. And it's called More Than I've Ever Seen. It's just a rehearsal track, so it's not really a complete version, but it is what it is. But I hope you enjoy it, and we'll catch up with you next time. Be back on Tuesday with the Poppycock Report. Tuesday and Thursday morning, early on the West Coast. See you soon. Still burns inside with a light that I cannot hide. I walk on the edge of time, ride the winds of destiny. I hear the thunders coming, bringing me to my knees, like nothing I've ever seen. In my mind I hear the voices calling. In my mind I see the planets collide. In my mind I feel the end beginning. It's like waking up from a dream. It's more than I've ever seen. Shadows fall like angels' tears, leaves darkness on every